With nuclear expansion, Mars exploration, the Belt and Road Initiative, and man-made islands in the South China Sea, the Chinese Communist Party has been expanding its influence around the world, on the moon, and into space. The amount of money the regime has spent has made some people believe that communist countries can achieve greater economic success when they adopt a market economy. But who funds China's expansion projects? Where does the regime's extraordinary amount of money come from? Hi, welcome to Lei's Real Talk. I'm Lei. China's world GDP percentage went from less than 2% in 1978 to over 18% in 2020. In a little over 40 years, China became the world's second largest economy, showing the ambition to compete with an alliance of Western powers. And the Chinese Communist Party has wasted no time in telling the world that economic development by an autocratic regime is more efficient than by a democratic one. It has challenged freedom and democracy by arguing that following these principles sacrifice economic growth. So let's get to the bottom of the question: where does the regime's massive wealth come from? Is the wealth really the result of its great policy and economic ingenuity? Let's visit a farm. Once upon a time, there was a farm. This farm is huge and has workshops, factories, hospitals, schools, shops, and everything. People living on the farm have different occupations. They can find jobs on the farm. They can also open and own businesses. People working on the farm are compensated with vouchers. The vouchers are the only currency allowed and can be used to buy things, from life's necessities to property. Residents are not allowed to own any cash. When people on the farm sell their products in the outside market, they must return the cash from the transactions to the farm owner in exchange for vouchers. When they buy raw materials from the outside, they first need to exchange their vouchers for cash. The farm owner prints the vouchers, decides the exchange rate, and distributes the vouchers. In theory, the amount of cash the farm owner holds should be the same as the number of vouchers that were issued. But we've got a problem. This farm owner has ulterior motives. Once he has control over the cash that everyone on the farm has earned, he and his relatives and close friends use this cash to reward themselves, buy property outside the farm, and aggressively build their influence by spending money. After years of extravagant spending, the amount of cash the owner has is getting less and less. But the people on the farm don't know this. Some of them have worked hard and accumulated lots of vouchers. They want to buy properties elsewhere, send money to their family in other parts of the world, or retire and move. They go to the owner and trade in their vouchers for cash. Realizing that he doesn't have much cash left, the owner imposes a rule. Farm residents can only redeem 50,000 vouchers every year. Imagine that someone has accumulated 1 million vouchers after working on the farm for many years. That person will have to wait 20 years to fully reclaim his wealth. The farm people are in despair. Those who understand China's foreign exchange system know that the voucher I just talked about is the Chinese currency, the renminbi, and the cash is the country's foreign currency reserves. The farm owner is the Chinese Communist regime, and the farm residents are the Chinese people. Under the CCP's rule, Chinese citizens can only exchange up to 50,000 US dollars worth of foreign currency every year. According to the China National Balance Sheet 2020, issued by the National Finance and Development Laboratory of the Chinese Academy of Social Science, China's total national assets in 2019 were $237 trillion, and total liabilities were $140 trillion. The difference between the two, which was the net national wealth, was $97 trillion. And of this amount, total household wealth was $73 trillion. This is the total value of the vouchers, or the renminbi, that Chinese citizens were given. Since the extravagant spending has been going on for decades, the owner doesn't have much cash left. He thus orders his residents not to leave the farm because he fears that they would use up all the cash. The money is running out. According to Chinese government's own data, at the end of 2019, China's total foreign exchange reserves were $3.1 trillion. But there is also the foreign debt of $2 trillion as of 2019. The difference of $1 trillion is China's foreign reserve net wealth. So in 2019, the total amount of real money that the CCP owned was only $1 trillion US dollars. That's only 1.4% of the voucher value of 73 trillion. So where did the 98.6% or $72 trillion go? Chinese people work hard to produce goods for the world. In fact, China is called the factory of the world, and the country maintains huge trade surpluses with its trading partners. But the cash that Chinese citizens earn from exports has been spent by the regime. In the free world, governments use money from taxes to maintain the army, run social programs, build infrastructures, and so on. They do not and cannot touch private wealth. But the CCP's foreign exchange policy actually gives the regime direct access to private money and also allows it to spend that money. For example, the United States government has an annual budget of $6 trillion. The Chinese Communist government, in comparison, has a budget of only $2 trillion to spend. However, it also has its citizens $73 trillion of accumulated wealth to spend. That's why a democratic country appears as if it cannot compete with a communist country. It's because a democracy wouldn't spend its citizens' money, but a communist regime would and does. The CCP isn't the only one that uses this foreign exchange system. Before 1927, Russians were free to hold, buy, and sell foreign currencies. The Bolsheviks banned the private foreign exchange market in 1927. An ordinary Soviet citizen could exchange rubles for foreign currency only for reasons permitted by the authorities, such as for short-term travel abroad. After returning, citizens had to return the remaining foreign currency to the state bank. In 1937, the Soviet Criminal Code equated performing foreign currency transactions to treason. So during the Cold War, during its lackluster economy, the Soviet Union was able to build a strong military, expand its space program, and compete with the United States, because a communist state controls the entire wealth of the nation, and private wealth doesn't exist. Now you understand why the CCP is able to fund its space program, nuclear expansion, and projects like the Belt and Road. They're actually funded by Chinese citizens. And the worst of it is that people don't know that the vouchers they hold will be devalued significantly. In November 1989, although the ruble was officially worth more than $1, and $1 could only buy half of a ruble, the tourist rate on the black market was over 6 rubles per dollar. 2 years later, in December 1991, just before the Soviet Union collapsed, $1 could buy 100 rubles in the black market. Essentially, rubles had devalued over 100 times. The vouchers Chinese citizens hold aren't worth as much as the regime claims, just like their real estate properties aren't worth as much either. Those who advocate a controlled economy or a socialist system should perhaps live in China for a while, like ordinary people, and experience it themselves. I understand that many people aren't happy with what's going on in America. But as imperfect as this system may be, it's still better than having your government rob you of your money in broad daylight. I recommend a video that I made about real estate bubble, and if you want to understand why China is spending so much money in Africa, you can watch my video, China's footprint in Africa. Thank you. See you next time. You could click them there.